The air in the room was thick, almost suffocating, as the family gathered in the dimly lit study of the late Samuel Jefferson. Dust motes floated lazily in the slanting rays of sunlight that filtered through the old, yellowed curtains. The scent of stale tobacco lingered, wrapping around the assembled faces like a shroud. James Jefferson, a quiet man in his 60s, sat in a worn leather chair, his hands trembling slightly on his knees, his heart a drumbeat of anxious anticipation. He was here to hear the last wishes of a man he had once revered, a man whose shadow loomed large over his life. Across the room, his son, Marcus, paced impatiently, his sharp features contorted with a mix of impatience and barely concealed greed. James watched him, a sense of dread pooling in his stomach. Marcus had always been ambitious, but lately, that ambition had morphed into something darker, more desperate. The whispers of financial troubles had reached James's ears, but they had never prepared him for the reality that was about to unfold. A creak of the old door interrupted his thoughts, and the estate's attorney, Mr. Thompson, entered the room, his expression grave. He cleared his throat, and the murmurs of the family quieted to a tense hush. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice steady but lacking warmth. "We are here to read the last will and testament of Samuel Jefferson." James felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him. This was it, the culmination of decades of family dynamics, of love and resentment woven tightly together. He could feel Marcus's eyes boring into him, calculating, assessing. It was the kind of look that made James want to shrink back, yet it also ignited a flicker of defiance within him. Samuel Jefferson, being of sound mind and body, hereby bequeaths his estate as follows. Mr. Thompson droned on, the words becoming a blur as James's mind raced. He had always been the quiet one, the one who let his voice go unheard, but now he felt a stirring of something deep within, a realization that he could no longer be the passive observer in his own life. As the reading continued, James's heart sank. Samuel had left the family home, their sanctuary, to Marcus, as well as a sizable portion of his savings. It was a betrayal, a calculated decision that James had not seen coming. He had spent his life working hard, saving every penny, and now it felt as though it had all been for nothing. The house was not just a building. It was a repository of memories, a testament to the love and sacrifice that had gone into raising his family. And now it was slipping through his fingers. Then came the whisper that would haunt him. "Don't drink the tea," a nurse had murmured to him quietly, her voice barely cutting through the tension in the room. James's heart raced as he processed the words. It was a cryptic warning, one that seemed out of place amidst the legal jargon and familial tension. The nurse had been one of the few people who had shown genuine care for Samuel during his illness, and her concern felt heavy and foreboding. James glanced around the room, his eyes landing on Marcus, who was now leaning forward, his expression a mix of triumph and impatience. "Is that all, Mr. Thompson? Is there nothing else?" he pressed, impatience dripping from his words. "Just a moment," the attorney replied, rifling through the papers on the desk. "There is a codicil to the will, but it's not customary to read it unless requested." Marcus's eyes lit up at the prospect of something more. "I request it," he said, his voice sharp. James felt a chill run down his spine. What could possibly await them in this codicil? Mr. Thompson hesitated, then nodded, pulling out a separate envelope. "Very well." Samuel Jefferson wished for this to be read only if the primary beneficiaries were present. James held his breath as the attorney unfolded the paper. The room felt electric, charged with a tension that was almost palpable. "To my dear son Marcus," he began, "I leave my estate with the hope that you will use it wisely. However, should you squander it, or should you find yourself in a situation that calls for moral judgment, I have arranged for a trust to be established. This trust will only be accessible to you upon completion of 10 years of community service, to be verified by a board of trustees I have appointed. James felt a flicker of hope, a tiny flame of justice igniting within him. Perhaps his father had seen through Marcus's facade, had sensed the greed that had begun to consume him. The nurse's warning echoed in his mind, and for the first time, the weight of the betrayal felt lighter as he considered what the future might hold. Marcus's face twisted in disbelief, anger flashing in his eyes. "You can't be serious," he shouted, his voice rising. "That's ridiculous. I'm your only son. You can't just handcuff me like this." James watched, a mix of pity and determination swirling within him. Marcus's desperation was palpable, and in that moment, James saw the man behind the mask. A man who was not just greedy, but also terrified. The deep-seated fear of failure was clawing at him, and it was a fear that James recognized all too well. As the lawyer continued to read, James's mind raced. The codicil was more than just a legal document. It was a lifeline, a chance to reclaim his dignity, to turn the tables. He could play the long game, carefully plotting every move while Marcus floundered in his own chaos. And just like that, the quiet man who had been underestimated for so long felt a sense of resolve wash over him. In the depths of despair lay the seeds of revenge, and in that moment, he vowed to reclaim not just the family home, but also the respect that had been stripped from him. The will reading was just the beginning. A game had been set in motion, and James was ready to play. He would not be the victim any longer. The nurse's whisper had awakened something deep within him, a burning desire for justice that would not be quenched. The tension in the dimly lit study thickens like the smoke curling from the dying embers of the fireplace. James Jefferson stands near the window, peering out into the misty gloom that envelopes the estate. The sprawling grounds, once vibrant with laughter and warmth, now seem like a graveyard of memories, shrouded in silence. The dim light accentuates the lines on his face, each one a testament to years spent in quiet servitude to a family that appears to have forgotten the virtue of gratitude. 10 years of community service? Marcus's voice slices through the stillness, sharp and incredulous, as if he can't quite grasp the weight of his father's unexpected inheritance. His son's face is a storm of disbelief, eyes wide and glistening with suppressed rage. James turns, catching the flicker of a cruel smile playing at the edges of Marcus's lips, a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. "James," Mr. Thompson interjects, his voice smooth yet firm. "This trust is designed not only to protect the estate, but to encourage Marcus to develop a sense of responsibility." He adjusts his glasses, the light reflecting off the lenses, momentarily obscuring his gaze. "Your father believed that a young man with resources should also have a sense of purpose." James's heart pounds in his chest, a wild drum echoing the tumult of emotions he grapples with. The bitterness of his father's decision stings, but within that ache lies a flicker of hope, a path laid out before him, albeit fraught with uncertainty. He glances at Marcus, whose face has twisted into a mask of resentment. "Purpose," Marcus snarls, the word dripping with disdain. "What do you think I've been doing all this time? I've been trying to build something for us, for the family." His voice rises, echoing against the walls and filling the air with an electric charge. "You think I'm going to waste my time picking up trash in some godforsaken community center?" "Marcus," James says, his voice steadier than he feels. "Your grandfather, he wanted you to learn humility, to understand what it means to be part of something greater than yourself." The words tumble out, a sudden surge of conviction coursing through him. "This is your chance to change." "Change," Marcus barks, shaking his head violently. "You don't get it, do you? This is a prison sentence, and I'm not going to sit here and let you or anyone else dictate how I live my life." He steps forward, his body tense, fists clenched at his sides, and for a moment, James sees the boy he raised, the child who once looked to him for guidance, now transformed into something unfamiliar and threatening. "Enough!" Mr. Thompson's voice booms, cutting through the growing chaos. "This isn't the time for outbursts. The will is binding, Marcus. You have no choice. He pauses, surveying the room, his gaze landing on James with an almost imperceptible nod of approval. You may appeal the terms, but the decision rests with the court. The silence that follows is suffocating. James's heart races as he feels the weight of the moment pressing down on him like the thick dust coating the shelves. He glances at the nurse, who stands quietly by the door, her face shrouded in shadows, and he remembers her warning. Don't drink the tea. The thought burrows into his mind, a nagging whisper that refuses to fade. Father, Marcus begins, his tone softening, almost pleading, but James interrupts before he can finish. Don't call me that. The word hangs heavy in the air, a barrier erected between them. You've lost that right. You've shown me nothing but contempt. The words spill out, raw and unfiltered, and with each syllable, James feels a weight lifting from his shoulders. The truth has been buried for too long, and now, like a flood, it threatens to wash away the facade of civility. Then what do you want from me? Marcus's voice trembles, the bravado slipping away like sand through his fingers. You want to fight me? Is that what this is about? No, James takes a breath, steadying himself against the tide of anger and sorrow that threatens to overwhelm him. I want you to understand that family is more than just money. It's about respect and love. You need to find your way back to that. He steps closer, feeling the warmth of the fireplace against his back as he confronts the very embodiment of his own failures. Marcus's expression falters, the fire in his eyes dimming. For a fleeting moment, James sees vulnerability, a crack in the armor his son has built around himself. But then it's gone, replaced by the familiar mask of defiance. You think you know me, Father? You don't know a thing. He shakes his head, turning away, and the moment evaporates like mist in the morning light. Enough of this, Mr. Thompson interjects again, his voice threading through the tension. The will stands as it is. You have options, Marcus, but they come at a cost. He glances at James, his expression unreadable. Perhaps it's time to consider what that cost might be. James watches as Marcus wrestles with his emotions, the conflict raging behind his eyes. Anger, betrayal, and a hint of desperation. The once unbreakable bond between father and son feels fragile, teetering on the edge of a precipice. James yearns to reach out, to pull Marcus back from the brink, but the chasm between them yawns wide. The nurse's presence lingers in his mind, her warning echoing in the hollows of the study. He shakes his head, brushing aside the thought, convinced it's a mere distraction. But something deep within him begins to stir, a sense of foreboding that refuses to be ignored. Let's proceed, Mr. Thompson says, shifting the conversation back to the matter at hand. There are still details to address regarding the estate and the conditions of the trust. He gestures toward the desk, where papers lie scattered like fallen leaves, remnants of a life meticulously documented. James feels a tremor of anxiety wash over him, the shadows creeping closer as he contemplates the future. You said the estate. What about the house? His voice is steadier than he feels, but the question hangs in the air, heavy with implication. Your father left the house to you, James? Mr. Thompson replies, his tone neutral, though the undertone is unmistakable. But the upkeep and taxes will require financial resources. Do you think you are prepared for that? James swallows hard, the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. The house, a vessel of memories and legacy, now feels like a burden. I can manage, he replies, though doubt gnaws at him. The reality of his financial situation looms like a storm cloud, threatening to overshadow any hope of reclaiming his dignity. Manage? Marcus scoffs, a cruel edge to his voice. You can barely manage to keep your head above water, let alone the family home. You're living in a fantasy, old man. His words cut deep, each one a reminder of past failures and the chasm that has grown between them. With a surge of determination, James meets his son's gaze, refusing to back down. I may be old, but I'm not done fighting for what's rightfully mine. His voice is steady, a newfound strength surging within him. You can't take the past from me, Marcus. The room falls silent, the weight of their confrontation hanging heavy in the air. James feels a flicker of hope igniting within him, a spark that rekindles the embers of his resolve. He knows the road ahead will be fraught with challenges, but for the first time in years, he feels a sense of purpose, a chance to reclaim not just the house, but the very essence of family. As the reading resumes, the shadows dance against the walls, whispering secrets of the past and hinting at the battles yet to come. James steels himself, ready to confront whatever lies ahead, fueled by the desire to protect what remains of his family legacy. In that dimly lit study, a new chapter is beginning, and he is determined to write it on his own terms. James Jefferson stands at the threshold of the dimly lit study, the gravity of the situation settling on his shoulders like a well-worn cloak. His heart races, an echoing drumbeat against the backdrop of whispered indignation from Marcus. Shadows dance on the walls, shaped by the flickering flames of the fireplace, where the embers glow like fading hopes. The air is thick with the scent of stale tobacco, wrapping around the assembled faces like a shroud, each expression a mask of tension, greed, and desperation. 10 years? 10 years of scrubbing floors and cleaning up after others? For what? A few scraps of my father's wealth. Marcus's voice cuts through the thick atmosphere, a knife slicing through flesh. His face is flushed, anger tightening his features, making him appear almost feral. James can see the raw, pulsating desperation in his son's eyes, and it stirs a mix of pity and sorrow within him. Marcus, James begins, his voice steady but low, as if afraid the very walls might betray him. Your grandfather believed in redemption. He wanted you to earn what you receive, not just take it. His words hang in the air, a feeble attempt to bridge the chasm of bitterness that has grown between them like a choked vine. Redemption? What does he know about redemption? Marcus scoffs, his laughter bitter and sharp, echoing against the wooden shelves that hold generations of family memories. He's dead, Dad. He left you the house and me the burden of his moralistic nonsense. I should have been the one to inherit everything without strings. The man was a fool. The words strike James like a physical blow, the truth of them resonating deep within his core. He has spent his life trying to be a good father, to instill values of hard work and integrity, and yet here stands Marcus, a mirror reflecting his failures back at him, twisted and distorted. James swallows hard, the lump in his throat a reminder of the pain that has long been buried beneath layers of silence. Your grandfather loved you, Marcus. He was trying to protect you from yourself. The words spill out before he can catch them, an instinctual defense against the raging tide of his son's fury. Protect me or punish me? It's the same thing. What's next, Dad? Do I have to beg for scraps while you sit back in your armchair, counting the days until I can finally touch what's mine? Marcus paces the room, his hands running through his hair in frustration, each motion a testament to his growing agitation. James watches him, feeling the weight of the family legacy pressing down on him, each moment a reminder of the fragile bonds that have frayed over the years. He knows that anger is a mask, a shield that Marcus wears to hide his fear of inadequacy, and yet it makes him no less dangerous. Enough! Mr. Thompson's voice rises above the din, cutting through the tension like a blade. The attorney is an imposing figure, his spectacles glinting in the firelight, a stark contrast to the chaos swirling around them. This will is binding and the codicil is clear. If you wish to gain access to your inheritance, you must fulfill the conditions set forth by your father. Marcus's expression morphs from rage to incredulity, his mouth agape as if he has just been struck with a surreal realization. You can't possibly allow this. It's absurd. I deserve more than just a chance to prove myself. I deserve the inheritance outright. Deserve has nothing to do with it, Mr. Thompson replies, his tone crisp and unwavering. Your grandfather wished to teach you the value of hard work, Marcus. You would do well to respect his wishes. James allows himself a small moment of satisfaction, a flicker of hope rekindled in the midst of despair. Perhaps this is the turning point, the moment that will force Marcus to confront the truth within himself. Yet, a part of him remains apprehensive, knowing that the path to redemption is often fraught with obstacles. Don't drink the tea. The nurse's whisper reverberates in his mind, a haunting echo that refuses to fade. Why had she said that? What did it mean? He shakes his head, trying to dispel the dark thoughts that threaten to cloud his judgment. The warning had felt ominous, but its significance eludes him. Enough of this, Marcus shouts, his voice breaking the momentary silence. I refuse to be treated like a child. I will not stand for this humiliation. If I have to waste 10 years, I'll make sure you regret it. Both of you. With that, he storms out of the study, the heavy door slamming shut behind him. The noise reverberates through the room, a thunderous proclamation of his defiance. James feels the air shift, a suffocating silence filling the space where Marcus's fury once resided. James, Mr. Thompson begins, his voice more measured now. I understand this is difficult, but you must remain vigilant. Your son is clearly struggling with his emotions, and the will's conditions may only exacerbate his feelings of resentment. James nods, the weight of the situation sinking deeper into his bones. I know. His voice falters, the vulnerability of his admission hanging between them. I don't know how to reach him anymore. It may take time, but the seeds of change have been planted. You must be patient and perhaps even lead by example, Mr. Thompson suggests, his eyes narrowing thoughtfully. There is a legacy at stake here, not just in terms of wealth, but in the values that your family carries forward. As James ponders the attorney's words, he can't shake the feeling that the nurse's warning is somehow connected to the unfolding drama. What if the tea was more than just a simple beverage? What if it was a symbol of something darker, something lurking beneath the surface of their family dynamics? Thank you, Mr. Thompson, James finally replies, his voice steadier than before. I appreciate your guidance. With a nod, the attorney gathers his papers, preparing to leave. I will be in touch, James. Remember, it's not just about the inheritance. It's about healing the rifts that have formed over the years. As Mr. Thompson exits, James is left alone in the study, surrounded by the echoes of his family's past. The shadows seem to close in around him, each flicker of light casting a new shape against the walls, a reminder of the ghosts that haunt this space. He moves to the window, gazing out at the sprawling estate that has been the backdrop of his life. The garden, overgrown and wild, reflects the state of his family. Once beautiful, now tangled and unkempt, James feels a surge of determination swell within him. He will not let this legacy die. The nurse's warning lingers in his mind, a riddle he must solve. He turns from the window, his resolve hardening. It's time to confront the truth. Not just for himself, but for Marcus. The journey ahead will be fraught with challenges, but perhaps, just perhaps, this family can find its way back from the brink. As he makes his way to the kitchen, the familiar scent of tea wafts through the air, a gentle reminder of the warmth that once filled their home. James pauses, the kettle simmering softly on the stove, the steam curling and twisting like the complexities of his heart. Don't drink the tea, he whispers to himself, the nurse's words echoing in the quiet of the room. The warning takes on a new meaning, a catalyst for action rather than fear. With a deep breath, he pours the tea down the sink, watching as the dark liquid swirls away, carrying with it a sense of foreboding and resignation. In that moment, James makes a silent vow to confront the shadows that have long haunted their family, to seek the truth buried beneath years of silence. and to fight for the legacy that can still be reclaimed. As the last drop disappears, he feels a flicker of hope ignite within him. The future remains uncertain, but he is ready to face it head-on. He knows that the road ahead will be fraught with challenges, but with each step, he will seek the light that can guide them back to one another. James stands in the dimly lit kitchen, the scent of the tea leaves still wafting through the air, mixing with the stale tobacco that clings to the walls of the old Jefferson home. He grips the porcelain teapot tightly, his knuckles whitening under the pressure. The liquid inside, once a symbol of comfort and warmth, now feels like a cauldron of uncertainty, echoing the turbulence swirling in his mind. "Don't drink the tea," the nurse's whisper reverberates in his thoughts, a haunting refrain that refuses to fade. He pours the remaining liquid down the sink with deliberate care, watching as it spirals away, a metaphor for the ties of the past that he yearns to sever. The clatter of the teapot against the sink jars him from his reverie. He takes a deep breath, grounding himself in the moment, aware that the echoes of his son's fury still linger in the air. James knows he must confront Marcus, but the prospect fills him with a trepidation that feels as heavy as the dust motes suspended in the kitchen light. As he steps back into the study, the mood is thick with tension, like the charged air before a summer storm. Marcus is already pacing, his hands balled into fists, rage radiating from him like heat from a furnace. "This is outrageous, Dad. You let him do this to us. To me." His voice rises, trembling with indignation. James swallows hard, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on him. "It's not just about you, Marcus. Your grandfather made his wishes clear. We have to respect that." "Respect?" Marcus scoffs, his laughter tinged with bitterness. "He left me nothing but a pile of conditions. 10 years of community service? What am I supposed to do with that? Sit in a corner and wait for my inheritance? It's a joke." James feels a flicker of something, perhaps it's pride, at his son's tenacity. But it is quickly smothered by the frustration that has built over the years, a cacophony of unmet expectations and unvoiced grievances. "This is not a game, son. It's about legacy, about what it means to be part of this family." Marcus stops pacing, fixing his father with a glare that could cut glass. "A legacy? You think this is about legacy? This is about money. You just want to sit back and pretend everything is fine while I'm left to deal with his ridiculous demands. You're just like him. Pathetic." James recoils, the sting of his son's words striking deep. He realizes that Marcus's anger is not merely directed at the will, but at the very foundation of their family dynamic, a foundation that has cracked and splintered over the years. "You don't understand, Marcus. This is about more than just the money. It's about who we are. Your grandfather had his flaws, but he believed in giving back to the community." "Giving back?" Marcus's voice drips with sarcasm. "He didn't give me anything. He just handed me a pile of garbage to clean up. And now you want me to play nice while I'm being robbed of my rightful inheritance." James takes a cautious step forward, his heart pounding in his chest. "You're not being robbed, Marcus. You're being challenged. This is an opportunity, a chance to prove yourself, to step out of the shadow of entitlement." With a scoff, Marcus turns away, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "An opportunity? To what? To be the town's charity case? You're delusional, Dad. This isn't some life lesson. It's a punishment." James feels a swell of determination rise within him. "It doesn't have to be that way. You can choose how to react to this. You can make something of yourself if you want to." "Make something of myself?" Marcus spins around, his eyes ablaze. "I've spent my entire life under your shadow, under his. Why would I want to be like either of you? All you've ever done is make me feel inadequate." The words hit James like a slap, the truth buried in his son's rage cutting deeper than he anticipated. "I never wanted that for you, Marcus. I wanted you to have the tools to be better, to forge your own path. But you've got to want it for yourself." Tools? All I see are chains. Marcus's voice quivers with barely contained fury. You're just letting him control us from beyond the grave. This is your fault. A tense silence envelopes the room, heavy and suffocating. James's chest constricts at the accusation. He feels the walls of his own resolve begin to crumble. I'm trying to help you, Marcus. I'm trying to reclaim our legacy, to heal what has been broken. Reclaim? Heal? Marcus scoffs, an incredulous laugh spilling from his lips. There's nothing left to heal. You're just a man standing in the ashes of what was once a family. And now, it's all falling apart. James's heart races, a battle of emotions swirling within him. There's a flicker of despair, a yearning for the connection they once shared, and a fierce determination to not let it slip away completely. I will not let this destroy us. I won't give up on you or on our family. Good luck with that, Marcus retorts, turning on his heel, his back to James. I'm done with this. I can't be part of your twisted little game. As Marcus storms out of the study, the slamming door reverberates through the house, echoing the fractures in their relationship. James stands frozen in place, the weight of his son's departure heavy upon him. It feels as if a part of him has been severed, leaving behind an empty ache that gnaws at his insides. A soft knock interrupts the silence, and Mr. Thompson steps into the room, his presence a stark contrast to the chaos that just unfolded. I heard raised voices. Is everything all right? James forces a nod, though the turmoil within him is far from resolved. Marcus is struggling to accept the will's terms. I thought it would bring us closer, but Mr. Thompson studies him for a moment, his expression a mix of sympathy and professionalism. Family dynamics can be complicated, especially in times of loss. It's understandable for emotions to run high. High, James echoes, his voice taut with frustration. It's volcanic. I feel like I'm losing him. Have you considered the possibility that this is an opportunity for both of you? Mr. Thompson suggests, his tone measured and calm. Sometimes, challenges can lead to growth, even when they seem insurmountable. James sighs, rubbing the back of his neck. I want to believe that, but how do I reach him when he's so consumed by anger? Patience, Mr. Thompson replies, his tone firm yet gentle. And perhaps a little understanding. Marcus feels betrayed, not just by Samuel's will, but by the entire legacy he feels he's been handed. It may take time, but you can guide him through this. James nods slowly, absorbing the attorney's words. I need to find a way to bridge this gap. I can't let our family's history be defined by resentment. Then start by addressing the issue head-on, Mr. Thompson advises. Acknowledge his feelings and express your own. Sometimes the act of simply listening can pave the way for healing. James's heart swells with a renewed sense of purpose. You're right. I need to confront the past, not just for myself but for Marcus, too. With a firm nod, Mr. Thompson places a hand on James's shoulder, an anchor amidst the storm brewing within him. Remember, healing takes time, but it starts with a conversation. Keep the lines of communication open. As Mr. Thompson departs, James stands alone in the study, the weight of the room pressing down on him like a vice. He glances around, taking in the dust-laden shelves of books, the framed photographs of happier times, and the remnants of a family that once was. With a deep breath, he allows the memories to wash over him, each one a reminder of the love that once bound them together. He knows the road ahead will be fraught with challenges, but he refuses to be a passive observer in his own life any longer. Determined, he steps out of the study and heads towards the front door, ready to confront Marcus and reclaim the threads of their family legacy. The air is thick with anticipation, and the shadows of the past loom large, but James feels a flicker of hope igniting within him. Don't drink the tea. The nurse's warning echoes in his mind, but now it feels less like a curse and more like a catalyst for change. He will face whatever comes next, ready to fight for his son, their future, and the family they can still become. As he opens the door, stepping into the fading light of the evening, he knows one thing for certain. This is only the beginning of a long and arduous journey, but he is finally ready to take the first step. The door slammed behind Marcus, a sharp punctuation mark in the already tense atmosphere of the dimly lit study. James stared at the door, his heart racing, a mixture of anger and worry swirling within him. He could still hear the echo of Marcus's furious words, the thunderous clash of their emotions hanging in the air like the acrid scent of stale tobacco. The tea sat untouched on the table, its surface shimmering with the ghostly reflections of the room, a silent witness to the fraying threads of their familial bond. James felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him, suffocating yet strangely liberating. He had never imagined that reading a will could unravel so much. So many years of unspoken grievances and unmet expectations. The nurse's whisper echoed in his mind, a fragile warning that seemed to dance just out of reach, taunting him with its implications. Don't drink the tea. It felt like a riddle, a clue to something darker lurking beneath the surface of their gathering. Mr. Jefferson? Mr. Thompson's voice broke through the haze of his thoughts, drawing James back to the present. The attorney stood near the fireplace, adjusting his glasses, a picture of composure amid the chaos. Shall we continue? James nodded slowly, his throat dry. He could feel the heat of embarrassment rising to his cheeks as he took his seat once more, the leather chair creaking beneath him like the weight of his own doubts. Yes, please, he managed to say, though his voice trembled, betraying his inner turmoil. The attorney cleared his throat, glancing at the papers spread before him. The codicil, as you know, imposes certain conditions on the distribution of the inheritance. It's not uncommon for a parent to seek to instill values in their children through such measures. Mr. Thompson's tone was steady, but James could sense the underlying tension in his words, as if he were treading carefully around a minefield. Values, James murmured, thinking of Marcus's face twisted in anger. Is that what this is? A lesson? He felt a surge of bitterness welling up, the years of Marcus's impatience and entitlement flooding back to him. He'll never see it that way. The purpose of the codicil is to encourage growth, Mr. Thompson replied, his eyes narrowing slightly as he regarded James. Your son may not appreciate it now, but in time, he might come to see the wisdom behind your father's decision. James sighed, running a hand through his thinning hair. Wisdom or punishment? Feels like a trap. I only wanted to give him a chance, but now, he trailed off, the weight of his words hanging in the air. Now you must decide how to approach this situation, Mr. Thompson said, his voice firm but kind. You've always been the steady presence in Marcus's life. Perhaps it is time to reach out, to show him that you are still there to guide him, even in the face of his anger. James considered this, the flickering flames in the fireplace casting shadows on the walls, dancing specters that seemed to echo his thoughts. He had always been the silent observer, the man behind the curtain, while Marcus had taken center stage, demanding attention and admiration. But now, in the wake of Samuel's death, it felt imperative to step into the light, to confront the shadows lurking in their relationship. I'll talk to him, James said, determination threading through his voice. I need to make him see that this isn't just about the money. It's about being a better person. Good, Mr. Thompson replied, nodding approvingly. But remember, it may take time. Patience will be essential. As the attorney continued to discuss the logistics of the inheritance, James's mind drifted back to the nurse's warning. The tea remained untouched, a silent specter of caution and dread. He glanced at the ornate teapot, its polished surface glinting ominously in the dim light. What could the nurse have meant? Was it merely a harmless warning, or did it hint at something sinister? Mr. Jefferson? Mr. Thompson's voice cut through his reverie once more. Are you with us? Yes, yes, James stammered, shaking his head as if to clear it. I'm here. He forced himself to focus on the conversation, though his thoughts were tangled in a web of anxiety and curiosity. What about the estate? The house? The estate remains in your name for now, Mr. Thompson explained, rifling through the documents. However, it will eventually pass to Marcus upon the completion of the conditions laid out in the will. James felt a twinge of unease. The home had always been a sanctuary for him, filled with memories of laughter, tears, and everything in between. But now it felt like a battleground, a site of conflict that threatened to tear his family apart. And what if he doesn't complete the community service? Then the estate will remain yours, along with the funds, Mr. Thompson replied. You have the power to guide him, to help him understand the importance of responsibility. Use that power wisely. James nodded, though the thought of wielding such influence felt heavy. He wanted to protect his son from the pitfalls of entitlement, but the prospect of actually having that conversation filled him with dread. The thought of Marcus's rage, of his disappointment, loomed large. Yet, if he didn't act now, would he lose his son forever? Thank you, Mr. Thompson, James said, his voice steadier now. I appreciate your guidance. As the attorney gathered the documents, James's resolve began to solidify. He would confront Marcus not as a foe but as a father. Perhaps, just perhaps, this painful moment could lead to something more profound. A chance for reconciliation, for healing, and for growth. After Mr. Thompson left the study, James stood up, the dim light casting long shadows across the floor. He took a deep breath, the air thick with the scent of tobacco and something else, something that felt like a warning. Glancing at the untouched tea, he felt a shiver run down his spine. What if the message he had received was more than just a caution about the drink? What if it was a reflection of the family turmoil that brewed beneath the surface? He hesitated for a moment, the warm tea beckoning him like a siren's call. But he shook his head, resolute. No, he wouldn't be swayed by fear. Instead, he would confront the chaos head-on, armed with honesty and a willingness to listen. The front door creaked open, and James's heart leapt as he turned toward the sound. Marcus stood silhouetted in the doorway, his expression a mix of anger and something softer. Regret, perhaps. James's pulse quickened, the moment suspended in time, as father and son faced each other across the threshold of their fractured relationship. Dad, Marcus said, his voice strained. I. James took a step forward, the distance between them suddenly seeming insurmountable. Marcus, wait, he said, raising a hand. Let's talk. The tension hung thick in the air, but James felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. Perhaps this was the beginning of a new chapter, one that would lead them toward understanding rather than division. He could already see the path ahead, twisted and fraught with obstacles, but worth traveling if it meant healing their relationship. As the door swung shut behind them, sealing the outside world away, James knew that this moment was only the beginning. The tea, the will, the nurse's warning, they were all pieces of a puzzle yet to be solved. And he was determined to find the truth, to navigate the shadows, and to emerge into the light, together with his son. James stands at the threshold of the dimly lit study, the air heavy with the scent of old leather and stale tobacco, remnants of a past that refuses to fade. He can still hear Marcus's angry footsteps echoing down the corridor, his son's frustration palpable even after he has left the room. The world outside seems distant, as if the walls of the house have drawn closer, wrapping around him like an unwelcome embrace. James feels the weight of the moment pressing down on him, the air thick with unspoken words and unresolved tensions. His heart races as he recalls the nurse's warning, "Don't drink the tea." The phrase lingers in his mind like a phantom, a riddle he cannot decipher. What had she meant? And why had she chosen that moment to speak? The implications of her words gnaw at him, intertwining with the anger and betrayal swirling in the wake of the will reading. As he glances around the study, memories flood back. His father's laughter, the warmth of family gatherings, the echoes of arguments that never seem to find resolution. The large oak desk at the center of the room is a relic of a bygone era, its surface marred by the scars of time and use. James approaches it slowly, his fingers brushing against the wood, feeling the grooves beneath his fingertips. This desk had been a witness to so many secrets, so many decisions made in haste. James wonders how many of those decisions had led them to this moment of fracture. He takes a deep breath, grounding himself, and turns to Mr. Thompson, who is gathering the documents with a meticulousness that borders on obsessive. The attorney's spectacles rest at the end of his nose, and he squints at the papers as if they hold the answers to a puzzle he's been trying to solve for years. "Mr. Jefferson," Thompson begins, his voice formal yet tinged with concern, "I believe we need to discuss the codicil further. There are implications here that—" "Implications?" James interrupts, the word tasting bitter on his tongue. Marcus is furious. He thinks he's been robbed of his inheritance. Thompson looks up, eyes narrowing slightly as he assesses James's demeanor. "It's not as simple as that. Your father intended for Marcus to understand the value of hard work and community. The conditions of the will are meant to teach, not to punish." "Teach?" James laughs, a hollow sound that echoes in the silence of the study. "Do you really think a decade of community service will change Marcus? He's always been entitled, always believed everything should be handed to him." The attorney straightens, pushing his glasses up the bridge of his nose. "Your father was a complex man. He had his reasons for this stipulation, but it's vital that you approach Marcus with caution. His anger is a storm that can easily turn destructive." James nods slowly, the weight of Thompson's words settling upon him like a shroud. He knows he must confront Marcus, but the thought fills him with dread. How can he bridge the chasm that has formed between them? The fear that Marcus might lash out again lingers in the back of his mind, a warning bell ringing ceaselessly. "Perhaps you should consider speaking to him tonight," Thompson suggests, "after he's had a chance to cool down. Emotions are running high, and it might help to frame the conversation around your father's true intentions." James looks at him, the flicker of hope igniting within him. Perhaps there is a way to reach Marcus after all. "You're right. I'll talk to him," he says, his voice steadier now. "But I need to know what I'm up against. Can you help me understand more about the will?" Thompson nods, pulling a folded sheet of paper from the stack on the desk. "This is a copy of the codicil. It outlines your father's wishes in detail. He believed in legacy, Mr. Jefferson. What we leave behind is as important as what we inherit." As James reads the document, the words blur together momentarily, but then he feels a surge of clarity. His father's intentions are beginning to reveal themselves, woven into the very fabric of the conditions laid out. It's not merely about the inheritance. It's about instilling values, about forcing Marcus to confront the very core of his character. "Legacy," James murmurs, the word rolling off his tongue. "What kind of legacy do I want to leave? I've spent so long in my father's shadow. I'm not even sure what that means for me." "Perhaps it's time to create your own legacy," Thompson responds, his tone encouraging. "This is not just about Marcus. It's also about you, your growth, and your relationship with your son." James looks up, meeting Thompson's gaze. There's a glimmer of understanding in the attorney's eyes, a recognition of the struggle that lies ahead. "You're right," he says, determination igniting within him. "This is my chance to step out from under my father's weight and reclaim my voice." With a newfound sense of purpose, James leaves the study and makes his way through the house, the walls whispering secrets as he passes. He can still hear Marcus's angry words echoing in his mind, but now there's a resolve building inside him. He won't let fear dictate his actions. He will confront his son, not as the passive observer he has been for so long, but as a father who is willing to fight for understanding and connection. As he reaches the front door, he pauses, glancing back at the study, the weight of the past hanging in the air. The nurse's warning still echoes in his ears, a reminder of the shadows that linger in their family's history. But he brushes it aside, focusing instead on the path ahead. He steps outside into the cool evening air, the sky painted with hues of orange and purple as the sun sinks below the horizon. The neighborhood is quiet, the stillness a stark contrast to the chaos swirling in his heart. James takes a deep breath, inhaling the crispness of the night, and makes his way toward the garage where Marcus often retreats when he's upset. As he approaches, he sees the flicker of a light spilling from beneath the door, a beacon of hope amidst the darkness of their current situation. James hesitates for a moment, anxiety creeping back in. What if Marcus refuses to listen? What if he lashes out again? But then he thinks of his father's words, the weight of the legacy he must uphold. He remembers the nurse's warning, but this time it feels less like a threat and more like a challenge. He must be brave. With a firm knock, he calls out, "Marcus, can we talk?" Silence follows, heavy and foreboding. James's heart races as he waits, the anticipation stretching taut like a bowstring. Just as doubt begins to creep in, he hears the sound of the door sliding open. Marcus stands before him, arms crossed, his expression a mixture of anger and confusion. "What do you want, Dad?" he snaps, his voice sharp enough to cut through the tension. James steels himself, taking a deep breath. "I want to talk about the will, about what it means for both of us." Marcus's eyes narrow, skepticism etched across his face. "What's there to talk about? You and I both know I've been cheated." "No, Marcus, you haven't been cheated." The words spill out, charged with the urgency of his resolve. "This is about more than just money. It's about understanding what it means to be part of this family, about the legacy we leave behind." Marcus scoffs, the sound bitter. "Legacy? You mean the legacy of disappointment? Of being stuck in this house with nothing to show for it?" James feels the sting of those words, but he pushes past it. "No, it's about growth, about learning from our mistakes. Your grandfather wanted you to earn what he's left behind, not just take it for granted. Earn it." Marcus's laugh is hollow, the anger still simmering just beneath the surface. "You call this a lesson? It feels more like a punishment." "Maybe it's both," James replies, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. "But you have a chance to prove yourself, to show that you're capable of more than just entitlement. I want to help you, but I need you to meet me halfway." For a moment, there is silence, the weight of their shared history hanging heavy in the air. James watches as Marcus's expression shifts, uncertainty creeping in around the edges of his anger. "Why should I trust you?" Marcus finally asks, his tone softer, though still guarded. "Because I'm trying to be the father you need," James says, his heart pounding. "I've been quiet for too long, but I'm ready to fight for us. I want to understand you, to help you navigate this, and I need you to let me in." As the last words hang in the air, James feels a flicker of hope. The path ahead may be fraught with challenges, but for the first time in years, he senses the possibility of healing. Marcus hesitates, his gaze shifting away as if wrestling with an internal conflict. The tension between them feels electric, a primal dance of fear and longing. After what feels like an eternity, he finally exhales, his shoulders relaxing ever so slightly. "Fine, let's talk." James nods, relief flooding through him as they step into the garage, the door closing behind them. The shadows of their past may linger, but in this moment, there is a chance for light, an opportunity to break the cycle of silence and resentment. The journey ahead will not be easy, but as James looks at his son, he knows that for the first time in a long while, they are at least facing it together. The silence in the dimly lit study hangs thick, like a damp fog that refuses to lift. James stands at the window, his heart thundering in his chest as he watches Marcus storm away, a shadow eclipsing the last remnants of sunlight. The air is heavy with unsaid words, and the scent of stale tobacco fills the room, wrapping around him like a shroud. "What have I done?" he whispers to himself, the question echoing in his mind. Mr. Thompson clears his throat, breaking the oppressive silence that follows Marcus's departure. "Mr. Jefferson," he begins, his tone as polished as the brass lamp on the desk. "The will is now in effect. We must proceed with the necessary formalities." James nods absently, feeling the weight of the room press down upon him. How had it come to this? The rift between him and Marcus had widened like a chasm, and now he stood on one side, a silent observer of his son's fury. The nurse's warning, "Don't drink the tea," echoes in his ears, its significance deepening with each passing moment. What had she seen? "Mr. Jefferson." Mr. Thompson's voice rises, a sharp contrast to the gentle murmur of the room moments ago. "I need your attention." James turns, meeting the attorney's gaze. "Yes, I'm sorry. What do you need?" "Your signature is required to finalize the estate's documents," Mr. Thompson explains, gesturing to the stack of papers on the desk. "It's a standard procedure." James approaches, his mind swirling. He glances at the papers, each one a reminder of his late father's decisions, his life, and the legacy now tangled in discord. With a deep breath, he picks up the pen, feeling its cool weight in his hand. His fingers tremble slightly as he signs, the ink flowing like a river that could not be reversed. "Are you sure you want to do this?" the attorney asks, his voice low and measured, as if sensing the turmoil within James. "The conditions placed upon Marcus are quite substantial. He may not accept them easily." James looks at Mr. Thompson, searching for some hint of understanding. "It's what my father wanted," he replies, more to convince himself than anyone else. "He believed in community, in giving back." "Indeed," the attorney agrees, though his eyes betray a flicker of doubt. "But it's clear Marcus does not share that sentiment." James's heart sinks at the thought. The rift between father and son had grown into a tangible thing, and he felt it gnawing at him like a hungry beast. "What if he never accepts it?" he murmurs, his voice barely above a whisper. "Then it could lead to prolonged litigation," Mr. Thompson states, his tone devoid of any emotional resonance. "He may contest the will, or worse, sever ties completely." James feels the walls of the study close in around him, the dim light flickering in response to his rising despair. "What if I can talk to him?" he suggests, the idea taking root in his mind. "Perhaps I can make him see." "Mr. Jefferson," Mr. Thompson interrupts, his voice firm yet kind. "You must consider your own well-being in this situation. Sometimes, the ties we wish to mend are beyond our control." James's brow furrows in frustration. He knows this truth all too well. The nurse's warning resurfaces, a cruel reminder of the fragility of life and relationships. "But I can't just let it end like this," he insists, his voice rising with newfound determination. "I have to try." With that, he turns and walks toward the door, the air thick with resolve. He can't let fear dictate his actions any longer. The nurse's warning lingers still, but it ignites a spark in him, a desire to confront the past he has avoided for too long. The outside world greets him with a chill, the evening air sharp against his skin. He steps onto the gravel path that leads away from the house, the remnants of the day's tension still swirling in his mind. James's heart races as he catches sight of Marcus's car in the distance, its headlights cutting through the dusk. As he approaches, he spots Marcus leaning against the vehicle, arms crossed defiantly over his chest, his expression a storm of anger and hurt. "What do you want?" Marcus snaps, his tone laced with venom. "I want to talk," James replies, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "We need to discuss this. You can't just walk away. Marcus scoffs, the sound bitter. What's there to discuss? You've chosen sides, Dad. You always have. James feels a pang of guilt, a reminder of all the times he stood silently by, allowing Marcus's behavior to dictate their relationship. This isn't about sides, he insists, stepping closer. It's about family. It's about us. Family? Marcus's laugh is harsh, slicing through the air. You think this is about family? You've never cared about what I wanted. You let him. Let him what? James interrupts, his voice rising. Let him dictate your future? Marcus, I'm trying to help you. Your grandfather believed in giving back, in earning your place in the world. He wanted you to learn that. Marcus narrows his eyes, a mixture of anger and confusion flickering across his face. What do you know about what I want? All I ever wanted was to be free of this place. And now you're trying to trap me in it. James takes a deep breath, the weight of his son's words striking him like a physical blow. I'm not trying to trap you. I'm trying to save you from yourself. This entitlement you feel won't lead to happiness. It will lead to loneliness. A tense silence envelopes them, the air crackling with unspoken words. James watches as Marcus's expression shifts, the anger giving way to something softer. Vulnerability, perhaps. Do you really think I would have turned out like this if you had been there for me? Marcus's voice is quieter now, laced with pain. You were always so focused on the business, on keeping up appearances. What about me? James's heart aches at the raw honesty in his son's words. I see that now, he admits, his voice thick with emotion. I should have been there. I should have fought harder to connect with you. Marcus's gaze drops to the ground, the tension between them palpable. It's too late for that, Dad, he murmurs. You don't understand what it's like to feel like you don't belong. Then let me help you find your place. James pleads, reaching out slightly, hoping to bridge the gap between them. You can earn your inheritance, Marcus. You can do something meaningful. Meaningful? Marcus scoffs again, but there's a hint of uncertainty in his voice. You think I want to be a charity case? I don't want your pity or your lessons. It's not pity, James insists, his voice firm yet gentle. It's an opportunity. You have a chance to be part of something bigger than yourself, to make a difference. They stand there, the night deepening around them, the stars beginning to pierce the dark canvas of the sky. James watches as the conflict plays out on Marcus's face, the struggle between pride and the desire for connection. I don't know if I can, Marcus finally admits, his voice barely above a whisper. James feels a flicker of hope igniting within him. You can, Marcus. I believe in you. We can work through this together. As the tension begins to ebb, the nurse's warning resurfaces in James's mind, a shadow whispering in the quiet between them. And what about the tea? He asks, almost absent-mindedly, but his heart races at the thought. What? Marcus looks up, confusion etched across his features. The tea, James repeats, the weight of the nurse's warning pressing down on him. What if it's more than just a drink? What if it symbolizes something we've ignored? Marcus furrows his brow, his anger momentarily forgotten. What are you talking about? James swallows hard, the truth dawning upon him. The tea could mean the bitterness we've both harbored, the poison in our relationship. If we don't confront the past, we'll end up drinking from the same cup, drowning in resentment. For a moment, they stand in silence, the weight of those words hanging in the air. James can see the flicker of understanding in Marcus's eyes, the realization that perhaps they both have been sipping from the cup of bitterness for far too long. Let's not drink the tea anymore, Marcus, James says, his voice steady with conviction. Let's choose to heal instead. The night stretches on around them, but in that moment, amidst the shadows, a fragile thread of hope begins to weave itself between father and son. The journey ahead will not be easy, but for the first time, James feels the stirrings of a possibility, one that could lead them both to a brighter future, free from the poison of their past. James stands alone in the dimly lit study, the shadows of the room stretching across the walls like old memories refusing to fade. The air feels thick with unspoken words, a suffocating weight pressing down on his chest. The nurse's warning echoes in his mind, a haunting refrain that refuses to be silenced. Don't drink the tea. What did it mean? Was it merely a slip of the tongue? Or was there something more sinister lurking beneath the surface of this family gathering? He glances toward the half-empty teapot on the table, its steam curling upward like tendrils of smoke. The remnants of a family, once whole, now lie scattered in cups and saucers, remnants of a shared history tainted by discord. James feels a pang of regret for the years lost to misunderstandings and silence. He should have been more present, more involved, but the weight of his own disappointments had kept him at arm's length, a spectator in his son's life. As he wanders to the window, the view of the sprawling estate outside offers little comfort. The once vibrant garden now appears overgrown, wild and untamed, much like his relationship with Marcus. He watches the wind whip through the trees, carrying with it the scent of impending rain, a sign that change is on the horizon. James? Mr. Thompson's voice breaks through his reverie, a reminder that they are not alone in this house of secrets. The attorney's presence is as formal as ever, his crisp suit and polished demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos swirling within James. I believe we need to discuss the next steps regarding the will. Next steps, James replies, his voice wavering. What does that even mean now? The bitterness creeps into his tone, a reflection of his frustration. He turns to face Mr. Thompson, the tightness in his chest giving way to a rising tide of anger. Marcus isn't going to accept the terms. He's furious, and he feels betrayed. Mr. Thompson adjusts his glasses, the thin frame glinting in the low light. It is not uncommon for heirs to react emotionally during these proceedings. However, the will is legally binding. If Marcus wishes to contest it, he will need substantial grounds. And until then, the terms remain as stated. James shakes his head, feeling the urge to argue, yet knowing that the battle lies not within the legalities, but within the heart of his son. I don't care about the money or the house. I just want him to understand. The words tumble out, raw and unfiltered, revealing the depths of his despair. I want him to see what it means to contribute, to give back. He's so focused on what he can gain, he's blind to the value of giving. Your intentions are noble, James, but it's important to consider that not everyone views the world through the same lens. Mr. Thompson's voice is steady, yet there's an undercurrent of sympathy that softens his otherwise formal demeanor. Have you thought about how you might approach Marcus? Perhaps a conversation, one where you express your hopes more openly. The idea feels daunting. James's heart races at the thought of facing Marcus again, the anger still fresh, the wounds unhealed. And what if he rejects me again? What if I push him away even further? The thought of losing his son entirely weighs heavily upon him. I cannot predict how he will respond, Mr. Thompson admits, but I can assure you that honest communication is often the first step toward healing. The attorney pauses, his expression contemplative. And perhaps you can use this opportunity to address the warning you received. It may hold more significance than you realize. James furrows his brow, the nurse's cryptic message swirling in his thoughts. You think it's connected to the will? Possibly. Or perhaps it's a warning about the state of your family. It's wise to consider all angles. Mr. Thompson offers a slight nod, encouraging James to delve deeper into the mystery that looms over them. With a newfound determination, James takes a deep breath, feeling the air fill his lungs as he nods in agreement. You're right. I need to speak with him. I need to understand what's driving him. And I need to know why the nurse warned me. Good, Mr. Thompson replies, his voice firm yet reassuring. But remember, James, This may not be an easy conversation. Emotions will run high, and you must be prepared for that. Prepared or not, I can't let this continue, James replies, his resolve hardening. I owe it to myself and to Marcus. As he moves toward the door, a sense of urgency propels him forward. He cannot waste another moment. The storm that brews outside mirrors the tempest within him, and he knows he must confront both. He strides down the hallway, the echoes of his footsteps reverberating through the empty house, a reminder of the silence that has settled between him and his son. The rain begins to fall as James steps outside, the cool droplets mingling with the warmth of his breath. He heads toward the garden, where he last saw Marcus. The path is slick and treacherous, mirroring the uncertainty of their relationship. The air is thick with humidity, the scent of wet earth rising around him, a reminder of the life that still exists beneath the surface. As he approaches the far end of the garden, he spots Marcus leaning against the gnarled trunk of an ancient oak tree, his shoulders hunched, the tension radiating from him like heat from a fire. The sight of his son ignites a mix of fear and determination within James. He steps closer, the sound of his footsteps muffled by the rain-soaked ground. Marcus, James calls, his voice steady despite the storm brewing in his heart. We need to talk. At first, Marcus doesn't respond, his focus fixed on the ground as though he is searching for answers in the damp soil. Finally, he lifts his gaze, the storm in his eyes matching the weather around them. What's there to talk about, Dad? You've already made your choice. The accusation cuts deeper than James expected. I didn't make a choice against you. This is about your future, not just mine. He takes a step closer, hands outstretched in a gesture of peace. I want to understand why you're so angry, why you feel betrayed. Betrayed? Marcus's voice rises, sharp and filled with incredulity. You think I'm angry over the will? This isn't just about money. It's about you always being absent. It's about how you never believed in me. James feels the weight of his son's words, each one a reminder of the distance that has grown between them. I know I failed you, but I want to make it right. I want to help you see that there's more to life than what's in that trust. Marcus scoffs, crossing his arms defiantly. Help me? You don't get it, do you? You think a few words can fix everything? You think you can just waltz back into my life and start lecturing me about values? Marcus, please, just listen. James pleads, his heart racing. I received a warning today. From the nurse. Marcus interrupts, a harsh laugh escaping his lips. What does she know? She's just a caretaker, not a part of this family. She knows something about this family that we don't. James insists, his voice rising above the sound of the rain. She warned me not to drink the tea, and I can't shake the feeling that it means something. Something about our family's legacy. Marcus's expression falters for a moment, curiosity flickering in his eyes. You think she knows more than she's saying? I don't know, James admits, feeling a flicker of hope ignite within him. But I'm willing to find out. Together. If we can just set aside our anger for a moment and look at this as a family. The storm begins to relent, the rain tapering off to a gentle drizzle. Marcus uncrosses his arms, his shoulders relaxing slightly as he considers his father's words. You really think we can just fix this? That we can be a family again? James nods, feeling the weight of the moment settle between them. It won't be easy, but I believe we can. If we work together, we can uncover the truth behind the nurse's warning and what it means for us. We can start healing, and maybe even find a way to honor your grandfather's legacy. The tension in Marcus's posture begins to dissipate, replaced by uncertainty mingled with a glimmer of hope. What if it's too late? He asks, his voice a whisper, burdened by doubt. It's never too late, James replies, his heart swelling with determination. As long as we're willing to try, we still have a chance. With that, James takes a step closer, the space between them shrinking, A fragile bridge formed amidst the storm. The clouds begin to part, revealing a glimpse of sunlight breaking through, illuminating the path ahead. A path that holds the promise of forgiveness and redemption, if only they choose to walk it together. The storm outside rages on, rain lashing against the aging windows of the study like 1,000 tiny fists. James sits in the low armchair, his fingers tracing the worn fabric as he watches Marcus pace like a caged animal. The tension crackles in the air, thick and oppressive, weighing heavily on James's heart. Each footfall of Marcus echoes with resentment, a stark reminder of the chasm that has widened between them. 10 years. Marcus's voice rises, sharp as a shard of glass. You think that's fair? What kind of punishment is that? He stops, hands clenched at his sides, fury simmering just beneath the surface. I need that money now, Dad. I can't wait a decade to make something of myself. James swallows hard, the taste of bitterness lingering in his throat. He remembers the days when Marcus was a bright-eyed boy, full of dreams and ambitions, before the clouds of disappointment began to gather. It's not punishment, Marcus, he replies, his tone steady but tinged with sadness. It's a lesson. Your grandfather wanted you to learn the value of hard work, of giving back. You can't just take without understanding the weight of what it means. Values? Is that what you think this is about? Marcus scoffs, the sound harsh and mocking. You're just trying to justify why he left everything to me but still made me jump through hoops. It's like he didn't trust me at all. James feels the sting of his son's words, a knife twisting deeper into the old wounds of their relationship. He trusted you to be better than this, he counters, his voice rising slightly despite his efforts to remain calm. He wanted you to grow, to be a man who contributes to the community, not just someone who takes. Marcus's expression shifts, a moment of vulnerability flickering across his face, before it hardens again. You don't get it, he snaps. You've never understood what it's like to be in my shoes. This isn't just about money, it's about my life. He gestures wildly, frustration spilling over. You think you can just sit there and lecture me? You've done nothing but watch me struggle. James grips the armrests of the chair, feeling his heart race, the weight of his son's accusations crashing down around him. I'm trying to help you, Marcus. I want you to see that this is a moment to reflect, to change. You're so focused on what you don't have that you're missing what's right in front of you. Like what? Marcus throws his hands up in exasperation. The family home? This dusty old study? What do you want me to cherish? The memories of a grandfather who never believed in me. The words hit James like a physical blow, and for a moment, he is lost in a swirl of memories. Laughter echoing through the halls, the smell of freshly baked cookies wafting from the kitchen, Samuel's booming laughter filled with warmth and love. He looks at Marcus, his heart aching for the boy he once knew. I want you to cherish your family, he says quietly, the intensity of the storm outside mirrored in his voice. I want you to cherish the legacy he left behind. The room falls silent, the only sound the rhythmic patter of rain against the window. For a fleeting moment, James sees the flicker of doubt in Marcus's eyes, an echo of the boy who had once idolized his grandfather. But it vanishes as quickly as it appears, replaced by a hardened resolve. Forget it, Marcus says, turning away, his voice low but laced with venom. I don't need this. I don't need you. He storms toward the door, but James calls out, desperation spilling into his voice. Marcus, please, before you walk away, think about what you're saying. You're pushing me away just like you've pushed everyone else away. Is that really what you want? Marcus halts, his back to James, the muscles in his shoulders tense. You think I want to push you away? You don't know the first thing about me. Then let me in, James pleads. Let me help you. We can figure this out together. Silence stretches between them, heavy and suffocating, until finally, Marcus turns to face him, his expression unreadable. Why should I trust you? He asks, voice strained. You've spent my whole life watching me fail. James's heart sinks at the truth of Marcus's words. I've watched you struggle, yes, but I've also seen the potential in you. I've seen the good. I thought you could find your way back. That's why I'm here. You're my son. The storm outside rumbles ominously, a reminder of the tempest brewing within the walls of the study. Marcus's gaze softens for a brief instant, and James holds tightly to that glimmer of hope. What if I told you that I wanted to change too? James continues, finding his courage. What if I promised to be there for you, to support you in this journey? The words hang in the air, fragile and tentative. Marcus's expression shifts, uncertainty creeping in. You really mean that? He asks, his voice barely above a whisper. I do, James affirms, his heart racing as he dares to hope. Let's start fresh. We can work through this together. Marcus takes a step back, the weight of his decision evident in the furrow of his brow. Even if I don't get the money for 10 years? He asks, the challenge lingering in the air. Even then, James replies with quiet resolve. The money isn't what makes you, Marcus. It's who you are and who you can become. The wind howls outside, a ghostly wail that echoes through the study, and for a moment, it feels as if time has stopped. James watches Marcus wrestle with his emotions, the internal battle playing out across his face. Finally, Marcus nods, albeit reluctantly. Fine, I'll think about it, he says, the words brittle but carrying a weight of possibility. But know this, I'm not making any promises. James nods, relief flooding through him. That's all I ask. With a heavy sigh, Marcus turns toward the door, hesitating for just a moment before stepping out into the hallway, leaving James alone in the dimly lit study. The silence settles around him, thick and heavy, as he sinks back into the chair, heart still pounding. James stares at the rain-streaked window, the world outside blurred and distorted, much like his own feelings. The nurse's warning echoes in his mind, a shadow flickering at the edges of his consciousness. Don't drink the tea. What did she mean? Was it a warning about the tea in the room? Or was it a metaphor for the bitterness brewing within their family, the poison of unresolved conflicts? James stands, urgency igniting within him. He can't let fear and uncertainty dictate their future. He steps toward the door, ready to follow Marcus, to find answers. Answers to the nurse's warning, to the legacy they are meant to uphold. As he exits the study, the storm rages on, but within him, a flicker of hope ignites. Perhaps, just perhaps, they can mend the fractures of their family and honor Samuel's legacy together. The path ahead is fraught with uncertainty, but he knows that every journey begins with a single step, and he is determined to take it.